Hello everyone, and welcome to the next devlog for my indie game, Pixel Pirates. For this devlog, I want to try out something new and record segments as I make progress, so that way y'all can follow along with me and see how I actually go about this game development journey. Hopefully this will make for a more enjoyable experience for everyone watching, so without further ado, let's get straight into things. Today is Wednesday, May 25th, and is actually the day after I posted my last devlog. If you haven't yet, I highly recommend checking that video out, but for a quick recap, we implemented a controller to allow for the player to interact with objects, we implemented a friendly NPC girl, we split up the player sprite into different components, and we created a basic map system. All in all, a very productive last few weeks if I don't say so myself. To start off this devlog, I want to work with the player animations a bit more. Before, I was using a bunch of different animation controllers for each individual body part, which I don't think was the way to go as it makes it so much more difficult to change. This time what I'm going to do is create a single animation controller that instead changes the sprite for each body part within it. I also want to add a position transform to the player's right hand, so that way a sword sprite or really any weapon sprite can be added to the player. I'm gonna go make myself a cup of tea, and I will check in with all of you when I get the animations all put together. Alrighty, it's been about 2 hours since I started working on the animations, and I think they're finally in a place that I'm mostly excited about. If we take a look, I have animations for the north, east, south, and west idols, as well as walking animations for those 4 same directions as well. I'm happy with how they turned out for the most part, except for the walking south animation. That one looks a little chunky and isn't my favorite. I won't go too in depth with how I actually made these animations, but I used Unity's built-in animation window to do it. I have a few different frames that I cycle between, and then I order them so that way things look right in terms of depth. So for example, I have things I want to appear behind the sword at level 0, I want to have the sword at level 1, and anything I want to appear in front of the sword is at level 2. So if we look here, the head, the core, the left arm, and the legs are at level 0, and then we can see the right arm is in front, so it's at level 2, and that's displayed here. To move the sword, I'm actually using a transform on the weapon slot, its parent slot, instead of the sword itself. The reason for that is that it allows me to drag and drop different weapons in there and have them look mostly normal. So if we take a look, we can actually deactivate the sword. Let's just toss a branch in there real quick. And let's have it just go in the right hand real quick, just to have it kind of look decent. So if we look there, we can actually see that branch is moving with the player. If we walk north, still moves with the player. They walk east, still in their hand. The walking west is slightly different, and I'm actually going to have to make some modifications so this works a little better. But for any of the 4 other directions, it works amazingly well, and I love this system so much, so I'm definitely going to stick with it. Now though, it's mid-afternoon, and I have work in about an hour, so I think I'm just going to relax for a little bit, and I will check back in and give y'all an update when more work has been done. Wow. So I did a lot between that last clip and now. To start, I created a little slime and ace sprite, so that way I can begin to add some enemies for combat into the game. Once I was happy with how they looked, I then felt confident enough to try and implement them into the actual game. To give myself an extra challenge, I did it without the help of any tutorials online, and while it was a challenge, I'm proud of the system I came up with. I'm not sure if what I did has an official name, and I'm sure it's been done before, but I'm going to call it the donut jumping method, because it sounds cool and describes it pretty well. So what I do is I draw 2 circles around the slime. One of these will be the minimum distance that the slime will jump, and the other is the maximum distance. I then choose a random point in the area between these circles and tell the slime to move there over a set amount of time. The jumping animation takes 24 frames, and the distance the slime will cover is variable, so I made it in such a way that the speed of the slime scales, so that way it's always the correct amount of time. While it's not an optimized solution by any means, this was my first time doing an entire C# script by myself, and I'm very happy with how it came out for my first attempt. Logically, now that there's an enemy in the game, one would expect to be able to defeat the enemy. That's where the next part of implementing attack animations into the game came into play. I like how some of the animations turned out, but overall, I'm not very pleased with them. They do, however, get the job done, so I think I'll leave them in for now until the next texture overhaul. Implementing these animations was as simple as creating a short C# script with a coroutine inside of it, and attaching it to the input system. Inside the animator, I could copy and paste my idle block, change the animations from idles to attacks, create a transition for is attacking, which I reference in my C# script, and boom, we have attack animations. Currently, you can only attack while idling, and I do want to change that so you can be moving, it'll pause your game when you attack, and then you move again right afterwards. It shouldn't be that hard, but I'm struggling with how I'd actually do it, so I'll circle back that later. For now though, I'm going to go back to the slime and add another section to its script where it'll target the player if they get within range. I think it'll be as simple as using a circle collider to see if the player moves within or out of range, but we'll see shortly if it's as straightforward as I think it'll be. If I thought animating the player's attacks were difficult, that was nothing compared to the struggle of getting a slime to follow the player. My earlier train of thought for how I was going to get the slime to move was correct and did end up working, but it was a pain to get things to work as I wanted them to. I ended up putting a reference to the player into the script, and had the script activate a certain section of code if the player moved into the collider zone, and activate another section of code if the player moved out. The actual programming of this was a nightmare, however, and will haunt me for the next few days. On the bright side, however, we now have a slime that will follow the player if we get within range. I don't like how the slime moves directly towards the player, so I think I'll add some randomness to where it moves later on, but I think I like how it's working so far. If I spawn a bunch of these slimes in the scene, we see that each slime actually has their own trigger areas and don't affect each other, so I can have some follow me and others won't care. Pretty cool if you ask me. With all that said, I think now is a good time to end off this devlog. I'm so glad I was able to get so much done these last few days, and I'm proud of myself for making some progress in learning a language that is still fairly new to me. Fingers crossed that next time we'll have some more improvements to the combat system, and that we'll finally gain the ability to hit enemies. With all these new features being added, I really should think about writing stuff down for what I have added and what I will add, because things are starting to get confusing just keeping it in my head. But for now, I'm gonna go take a nap and hope to see all of you soon.